Should I buy title insurance? See why so many people try to cut this expense out of their closing on a house. It's one of those areas that is optional. If you like content like this, we ask that you would go ahead and subscribe or give us a comment below. Tell us, when you purchased a house, did you buy title insurance? If not, what your reasoning was on it. If you then again sold that house, how did it go? We're going to tackle this topic, and we're going to talk about some real life case studies where not buying title insurance and how it affected that individual in selling. Let's get into this. Okay, so welcome back. This topic of title insurance is one of those things that feels like an extra fee just to be able to get. What happens is an attorney in the state of Georgia does a title search to look for liens and encumbrances on your property. And they try to resolve those by collecting whatever revenue is required to get those liens released or to solve whatever issues are there if it can be cured by money. So I'm going to pull up what Forbes actually had to say about this particular topic. So I'm going to bring it up on screen for you right now. All right, it says, what is title insurance? This is basically an article that you can find on Forbes under their advisor section. And so if that is of interest to you, you copy this link and you can actually come take a look at this. So it says a title claim could arise at any time, even if you've owned the property with no problems for many years. How could this happen? Someone else might have ownership rights that you don't know about when you make the offer to buy the property. Even the current owner might not be aware of some of the claims that can be against the property, and this is what we've seen happen. Before a home loan closes, which most real estate transactions require that you get a home loan, and because, I should rephrase that, it doesn't require that you get a home loan, but most real estate transactions have a home loan incorporated into the deal because people don't have the cash to buy it. If that's the case, the lender requires that they look for liens, easements, and encumbrances. So liens can be placed on a property by a contractor, a tax authority, a lender who hasn't been paid. You don't want to get stuck with a lien on the property being due when you had nothing to do with it, and this is why this title search is done. Easements are someone else's rights to use the property even though you're the owner. For example, if there's utility lines in your backyard, the utility company will have an easement that allows them to access the property if they need to work on the lines. The easement could limit your ability to use the property however you want, meaning if you wanted to build a nice big barn right along this easement, but it's where they have to drive through to be able to get to you, then that's not going to work. You're not going to be able to use it. So that's what how that easement, I mean, you could say I can't do a barn here, but that has to remain clear. So you own it, but it's not like you're going to set up a burn pit there and have them drive through it, right? So use of property is a big deal. Okay, so let's take a look. Encumbrances, including liens, also called financial encumbrances, as well as easements, but include zoning laws, restrictive covenants imposed by the homeowners association and other lien holders. So this is where they find out, is there an HOA? How's this going to restrict my ownership and use of this? So you purchase two different policies, right? We just mentioned if you're getting a mortgage, it's required. You might say, aha, I got cash, don't need one. That's true. The owner's policy is optional. You do not have to buy an owner's policy, but you might want to consider it. So I'm going to give you a case study. There's many people that have saved this money, and it could be in some cases a couple $1,000 depending on the purchase price of the property, and you just want to save that couple $1,000 and put it, get your closing costs down. So an individual did this where they bought a property. They did not work with us. This particular property was purchased in Bullock County, Georgia. That property was a couple acres. It at one point was broken up into multiple small lots to be made into like a subdivision. And what ended up happening is they just never built the subdivision. So the lots were sold as a grouping. And the particular structure that was on the house, the particular structure that was on the property was a mobile home on a permanent foundation. So it was made into a house. You can get FHA financing on that type of structure. So that plus 2 acres. They came to me and said, let's list this property. They didn't work with me on the purchase of it. It turns out they did not buy title insurance on this. When it came down to it, one or two of the lots that were combined into this 2 acres, so small section of the 2 acres, had liens that hadn't been cleared or encumbrances. In other words, there was some ownership rights that went back, I believe they said almost 100 years at that point. Now, this was a long time ago. So at that point, it was almost 100 years. And I said, well, what do we need to get? Usually if it's like Jason Wilson has a right to this, well, unless I'm alive 100 years later, you really can't get anything from me. But let's say it was 10 years ago, you would come and get a quit claim deed from me saying, yeah, I sold that. They just didn't record the right thing. Title clear, out of here. Well, in this particular case, it would have to be the heirs of these people. Well, the entire county is kind of descendants of the individuals. So we would have had to have gotten quit claim deeds from known and unknown people that could have amounted to a third of the county. And then how do you even cover what you don't know? And so it really wasn't an insurable issue. To get by this, luckily, these 2 lots that occupied just a fraction, probably about a 1/4 acre of the 2 acre estate, the structure was not sitting on those 2 lots. So that was just extra acreage that they had. But the property itself, the house, we'll call it that, was sitting on the rest. So we were able to break those 2 apart because we were not able to get clear title on those 2 acres. We sold the entire thing. A mortgage company came out and basically assessed it minus that 1/4 acre with those 2 little lots on it. So basically peeled it apart and said, we'll finance and place a lien on this. And then we quit claimed, which basically says, hey, these have encumbrances. They're still going to have encumbrances. We can't clear it, but we'll gift these to you with no guarantee that there's clear and marketable title on that basically 1/4 acre parcel. And the transaction did commence. It did go through. The learning lesson was if you don't buy title insurance, you can end up with an issue. So the reason people don't is because there's an attorney that closed the transaction and they have a job to do. And at this particular point, the client was, before we came up with this solution, was like, well, let me go talk to the attorney who did this because they should be held responsible. The attorney actually agreed. This individual my client went and sat down with the attorney who did the first closing, and he went, yep, I'm not good at this. That's why I don't do it anymore. And by the way, the statutes of limitations for my liability have passed, so I'm not going to help on this in any way, shape, or form because we should have caught it. But if I help now, it reopens me up to liability. And since the statute of limitations is passed, you really can't hold me responsible, so good luck. And that's how we were forced into a corner where I had to get out of the box. Now, had the structure sat directly on those 2 lots that were in question, there is no fix that I've got for it, other than them insuring over the issue, and then the lenders might have a problem, etc. So, moral of the story is, should you buy title insurance? If you're asking me from a recommendation standpoint, unequivocally, without exception, buy title insurance. It will save you. It is definitely something that you want to have. It does cost money, $1,400 to $3,000. I mean, depending on purchase prices, obviously, if you're buying something smaller, it could be significantly smaller. There are different title insurance companies, but the amount and how they charge is based on a rate that's set up by the state. And you'll see those, the different companies. We can talk about those real quick. There's Old Republic, American, probably some others. I think those are the 2 primary that we use in this area. So anyway, if you have purchased a property and you didn't buy title insurance, let us know why. Let us know how it worked out. There's a lot of people that don't, and it works out fine. They go and sell the property, and the attorney that did the job had no issues. They found clear and marketable title. Nothing got placed on there, so there was no need for it to be able to go down that road. But the one time you get it, if you're stuck with a $300,000 property, as this one was, that you could not sell as a result of it being something that's uninsurable, then you forever have this issue going forward. So avoid that. And that's this topic for today. Appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We would love to hear from you and get some feedback on real estate topics that you've been asked questions about and how you answered them. Thanks so much.